Hey everyone, and welcome back to Bear's Reading Nook. I'm Kara, and today we're going to be talking about Promises and Pomegranates, which was the first kind of dive into dark contemporary romance that I've had. And overall, wasn't my favorite, but I still enjoyed the book, so let's get into it. First off, there's kind of two plot lines throughout this book. The first one being a blackmail plotline. Basically, the Mafia Don is kind of being blackmailed by some unknown person by basically having compromising photos or video of his daughter Elena and his fixer Callum. And so basically, in order to protect Elena, the Mafia Don, has Callum kind of marry her to keep her safe. And so that's one plot line, and they're trying to figure out who the blackmailer is. And also there is the whole romance plot line between Callum and Elena. Before I get any further, I just want to say that this book does have some content warnings. I'll put them on the screen. Just be aware of them if you are considering reading this book. Okay, let's talk characters next. So first is Elena. She is 20 and the oldest daughter of the prominent Boston Mafia family, and basically she's been trained all her life to basically be a pawn and be used through marriage to kind of build relationships with various companies that can help her father's business. And so at the start of the book, she's actually getting ready to marry someone that she absolutely despises, and is only doing so because that's what she's supposed to do and what she's been trained to do. And then her father ends up forcing her to marry Callum, and after they're married, he kind of whisks her off to, I think it was an island of sorts with a town and stuff, but definitely away from everything she knew. And so she kind of gets an opportunity to figure out what it is that she actually wants as far as schooling, as far as life in general. And so it's kind of interesting to see that kind of play out in various ways. And at one point, they do go back to Boston for something, and seeing her interactions after being away from her family for a while and then coming back, that was definitely interesting. And honestly, I kind of liked the changes. Let's talk Callum. So Callum, or Cal as I'm probably going to end up calling him more, he is 32 and at one point was a doctor, but he no longer is practicing that. I think either because he lost his license or because he has an auditory issue where basically sounds are way more amplified than sounds normally would be. Also, his character is kind of to me, it's the broody bad boy where it's I've had a rough life and I've had to do bad things, kind of vibe. But basically, he's raised by a single mother, and then at some point, she dies, and he ends up meeting the Mafia Don and his wife, and they kind of take him under their wing, give him a job and stuff like that, and he's been working with them, and I think worked up to being a fixer over the years. So the vibe I got from Cal was that he liked the work he did, just not who he was working for. Cal definitely had some controlling moments, obviously when he forced Elena to marry him, and also her father didn't stop him. And also after they're married and they go to wherever his house is, which I think it was on an island, he kind of just leaves her there while he goes and takes care of work stuff. And she's just supposed to find ways to entertain herself at the house. And he also has said that she is not to run away, which if she does, he will track her down. Elena's parents are way worse. Obviously with the dad, it's kind of his way or the highway in everything. And with her mom, slight spoiler, but she basically spins a story with the news that Cal kidnapped Elena, which I think was in part due to the fact that Elena's dad never told the mom what happened, just that they got married. There's other reasons why she is controlling, and I will explain that later when I do spoiler section. But yeah, honestly, Elena's parents just suck. And her sisters are fine, but to me, they don't really add anything to the plot or to the story in general. So now let's talk spice. Honestly, the spice level was pretty good, and I don't have a lot of complaints. I thought the spice was, for the most part, well done. There is a little bit of knife as well as blood play, so just be aware of that. So my complaint with the spice is honestly just the way that it was written, specifically in that body parts were only ever named by one thing, and they were all animal names. So if we're talking about certain things, it would be, you know, another name for cat. If we're talking about another thing, we're talking about another name for a rooster. And then if we're talking about the butt, it's always another word for donkey. Always. But aside from, like, the repetition of the various body parts, I thought that the spice was good. There were definitely, like, different locations that spice happened, and so I liked the kind of change of scenery of that, and honestly, I thought the spice was good. Okay, so now, honestly, I think we're good to just get into spoilers. So this is spoiler section. If you don't want to know spoilers, skip ahead. I'll probably put the time somewhere around here, and let you know when you can come back in. Okay, let's just get this out of the way. So first bit of spoiler part is just gonna be why Elena's mom sucks. And basically, Elena's mom was grooming Cal when he was a minor, and they definitely did things. So very much creepy, and basically I think part of her issue is that she wants Cal and she doesn't want Elena to have him. Another reason why Elena's parents suck, specifically I think her dad for this one, so after she's married and she's on, like, the island or whatever, with Cal, so at one point she wanted to leave the bar that her and Cal had gone to, and Cal had, like, left, and basically one of the workers was told not to let her leave and ends up drugging her with something, and then she leaves. And so in her drugged up state, she ends up getting kind of, like, attacked in some way, and we come to find out later that it was her dad that, like, had people kind of attack her or, like, scare her. So yeah, her parents suck. So Cal definitely gives off the who hurt you, I'm gonna mess them up kind of vibes, especially after the whole, like, her being drugged and, you know, getting roughed up or whatever by people her dad hired. And so basically after she's home and, like, they make sure that she's good and nothing bad happened, he basically goes out, gets the worker that drugged her, brings him to a shed out, like, back behind their house, which is, like, the torture area, and then brings Elena in so she can watch him kill the dude. And she likes it, and it turns her on. So that's a thing that happens. Also kind of spoilers, but also kind of not. Like, they are both obsessed with each other, but they don't actually talk about it, like, ever. So, not sure what that's about. Okay, so as far as the whole blackmail plot goes, it actually turns out that it was Cal the whole time, I believe. Basically, he was doing that, I think, as a way to get, Elena to marry him, but also possibly get out of the life, because he didn't want to be in it anymore. And I don't blame him with how annoying and just awful the Reese's are, because they suck. Okay, so I think that's all the spoiler talk that I can think of currently. So let's talk about overall thoughts. Like I mentioned before, this book was okay, wasn't my favorite. So for me, it ended up getting a 3-star. And part of the issue of that is, one, because of the repetition of the animal names as far as body parts goes, because it was every single time any of those things were even mentioned, and it was a lot. Another issue I have with this book is that it was like a loose, very, very loose Hades and Persephone retelling. I don't know the story of Hades and Persephone like well at all, but it felt like it was more a marketing thing to potentially get a wider audience, and basically all that really seemed to happen was that the characters would call themselves like by those names and call the other by those names as well. So like Cal at one point calls Elena little, like my little Persephone or something like that. And like Elena has referred to Cal as Hades and stuff like that. But like that just felt more repetition with the body parts as well. So that was interesting. And at one point I honestly was just thinking like, this book isn't bad, but there's so much repetition. Maybe it's this author's first book. No. Apparently they've written like 2 books, I think, prior to this in a different series. So this isn't even their first book. But like, I don't know. There is a lot of repetition in this, and I really didn't like it. But honestly, I enjoyed the spice. It was good. I had a fun time, and I weirdly like read the book fast once I got into it, and I really enjoyed that. Oh, another thing. So this is like supposed to be a dark contemporary romance, and if I'm honest, it didn't feel dark really at all. There's definitely one scene for sure that actually felt dark to me, but overall it seemed very tame. I guess would be a good way to say it. I mean, I still enjoyed it, and like I read it super fast once I got into it, but to me it doesn't feel like a dark contemporary romance. There are definitely dark parts in it, but it doesn't give me like overall dark vibes. So I think those are all my thoughts on this book. Overall, like I said, it ended up being a 3-star, but I had fun, and I am planning on possibly looking into more dark romance books and seeing if I actually like them. So yeah, I guess that's all for this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!